Toyota Prius is a great car all around. The Generation 2, which is 2004, 2009, does have one problem that's very common, which is the rear liftgate handle often breaks. It's made of a cheap plastic, and over time it just wears down and typically breaks. So today we're going to talk about how to repair and replace that part in a way where it will never break again and you'll have a reliable rear liftgate. So when I had this happen to me, I personally tried to fix the problem using epoxy multiple times, and then eventually when the epoxy broke, I had to duct tape it because I was on a road trip and it was flapping around. These quick fixes for the rear liftgate handle are fine in a pinch, but if you want a long-term solution, then you're going to have to buy a replacement part. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The replacement part I chose comes from Amazon, and I have it linked in the description. And it comes with a metal bracket that reinforces the rear liftgate so that it stays strong forever and you never have to worry about any plastic getting old and weathered and breaking. So once you order the replacement and it arrives, go ahead and remove this plastic cover on the inside of the liftgate to begin the repair. It's connected with snaps, so you just pry it off with a screwdriver to start and then remove the whole thing with force, snap by snap. Once that's off, go ahead and find the 4 screws and nuts which connect the rear liftgate handle to the metal frame of the liftgate itself. We're getting closer here to show you where those are. So there's the first one, and as you can see, this second screw is missing its accompanying nut. This is abnormal, and your liftgate should have all 4 nuts. So this one has the other 2 as well. And you can see here on the front where the screws attach to on the liftgate handle. Obviously some are broken off here. So go around back again, and you want to go ahead and start unscrewing those nuts, and you can remove them one by one. Some of them you can probably do by hand. I was able to do 2 of them using fingers, and then for one of them I had to use this socket wrench bit. And again, this screw right here did not have a nut when I began the repair. This is just another reason to do this replacement on your liftgate sooner rather than later if you notice it becoming a problem on your Prius, because if you wait a long time, then maybe things will get so bad that parts will start to fall off and go missing, and it will make the repair process harder when you actually get around to doing it. So this liftgate handle is now disconnected from the frame from a manufacturing standpoint. However, because I used epoxy to repair the issue when I first noticed it, I have to pry the liftgate handle off with a screwdriver to break this adhesion. Now at this point, the only thing connecting the liftgate handle to the liftgate itself is a wire that goes to the electronic portion of the handle here, and then the rubber lock/unlock button that you can see here. So you're going to want to disconnect both these mechanisms. You can see here I'm unscrewing the screws from the electronic handle mechanism, and once I've finished that, then I move over and unscrew the 3 screws from the lock/unlock mechanism as well. Now all these screws were pretty tricky for me to remove because they had a lot of corrosion and stripping on the head, so I had to get creative and use pliers and a couple different tools to get the screws off, but eventually I was able to. And once you remove those components, then the leftover portion of your liftgate handle is mostly disposable, aside from a few parts that I'll instruct you to remove later on. As you can see, I'm just taking out these screws that used to at one point hold the liftgate handle onto the car. So the first thing you want to take off this broken liftgate handle are these little plastic snap components. You're going to use those again later. Next, you're going to go back to the inside of the rear liftgate, and you're going to disconnect this white clip which connects the electronics from the liftgate handle to the liftgate itself. Once you've disconnected the white clip, just feed the clip and the rubber mechanism through the inside of the liftgate so that it all comes out on the other side, just like this. Also, see how this liftgate handle is in 2 pieces like this? That's because I did things in the wrong order, and I thought I had to take this mechanism apart in order to feed it through. And basically, this is kind of complicated, but essentially, it's kind of important that you follow the instructions of this video one after the other in the order that I talk about. If you want to avoid making silly and time-consuming mistakes, like trying to take apart mechanisms and that sort of thing. This video will show you the way to do it that's essentially proper as far as I know, and will have the fewest number of extraneous steps. So with that said, we'll get back to the repair here. You can go ahead now and open up your new liftgate handle, and as you can see, it comes with a couple of screws and a new rubber button for the lock-unlock mechanism. And it also comes with an adhesive sticker, so you can transfer the Toyota emblem from the broken liftgate handle to the replacement one. But we'll talk about that later on. So the next thing you want to do is put this little black rubber button cover into its respective hole on the new liftgate handle. Now it's worth mentioning here that to secure these electronic components to the new liftgate handle, you'll need to feed everything through this hole here, because the liftgate electronic handle mechanism is too large to fit through in the other direction. This is just an example of a step that must be done in order if you want to make the installation smooth and effective. But once you have these components fed through and the rubber button cover in place, go ahead and secure the electronic button mechanism back in place with the 3 screws you took off of the old liftgate handle. Next, you can feed that white electronic clip back through the hole you fed it out when you were moving the broken liftgate handle. And when doing this step, be sure to get that rubber wire guard that you can see here back in place on the frame of the liftgate, as you can see me doing here. Next, you want to take those little plastic clips I had you remove from the old liftgate handle, install them on the new one, sliding them right into place. Now, before screwing the new liftgate handle onto the liftgate frame, you want to make sure that all the wires are in the correct place in the backside of the liftgate handle as well. This will ensure that the liftgate handle lays flat against the liftgate when installed and secured tightly. And once the wires are in their proper place, feed the screws into their respective holes in the liftgate, push the snaps into place, and lastly, make sure that this rubber strip along the top of the liftgate handle is on the outside rather than tucked in to the liftgate handle. Next, you just need to screw the nuts back in, which you set aside from the original liftgate handle. As you can see, that third one I've left without a nut because I only had 3 nuts from the original liftgate handle. And because this mechanism is made of metal and it's such a higher quality component, it's actually fine with only using these 3 nuts. But obviously if you have all 4, I would of course recommend using all of them. You'll get the tightest, most reliable fit. And once you have those nuts back in place again, your final step is to grab that white electronics clip and just click it back into its corresponding outlet. And that's pretty much it. Your new replacement liftgate handle should now be functional and sturdier than ever before. And best of all, it will remain that way much longer than the original plastic version ever would or could. Quick note on the install that I did, these 2 screws for the liftgate electronic handle were in such bad condition that I opted to skip screwing them into the new liftgate handle, and I found the electronic handle stays in place just fine without them. Lastly, we'll talk about transferring the Toyota emblem from the old liftgate handle to the new one. The first step is to slice between the emblem and the plastic behind it. There's a foamy adhesive connecting the 2 parts, and you'll need to cut through that if you want to safely detach the emblem from the liftgate handle. Once you have the emblem in hand, you'll want to grab the adhesive emblem sticker that comes with the replacement liftgate handle and go ahead and peel off one side of that so you can properly attach it to the back side of the Toyota emblem. Then just attach it like so, poking out the pre-cut holes for the 2 alignment pins on the plastic emblem. Then press the adhesive sticker firmly and neatly into the back of the emblem to keep the adhesive portion behind the emblem itself to make sure that the emblem looks professional once you put it on the car. Then peel off the red plastic to expose the final adhesive side and press the emblem into its respective place in the liftgate handle, ensuring that the alignment pins on the emblem lock into the corresponding holes. And once you do that, feel free to put some good hard pressure on the emblem to ensure a strong adhesion. Lastly, if you happen to use any tape that left residue on your Prius, a good trick for getting it off is to use hand sanitizer. It takes some scrubbing, but eventually you can get your car back to looking normal again. So that's the whole tutorial. I made this because I felt there was a need for a comprehensive video on the topic. I've watched a couple others that sort of talk about it, but I felt like there was a lot of room for improvement, and I saw that this liftgate handle problem seemed to be a very common issue in the Generation 2 Prius world. So I just figured I'd make a video on it. I actually currently live out of this Prius that I'm inside of right now. Don't know if you can see that. And I plan on making a video series about how to live out of a Prius and how that lifestyle can be achieved and executed fairly easily. I plan on doing that in the next few months, so if you're interested in that sort of content, then stick around, subscribe, and look forward to that. Otherwise, like this video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, comment, share your thoughts, ideas, or suggestions. See you next time.